Hey there guys, and welcome to a new series, and welcome to a new game, and finally welcome to F1 2017. Yeah, last time I already did a little crash overview, crash compilation, whatever video from my first minutes in the game, but now we are finally in the game and starting our career. And as you can see in the background, I'm setting up the basic things for this career mode, and yeah, it's a little bit special. I guess it's not as you might already know it from some other YouTubers doing it. They are kind of professional, they go into it and have like every race and completely perfect from the beginning, having nice training sessions and whatsoever. I definitely need to get back into driving in general, so this entire thing will be a progress of the entire season, so it's definitely something special which you might have not seen so often, hopefully. But yeah, let's first hear what Emma Jerkins has to say to us.
Yes, and I respect that, but my client has a championship to contest, so if you want our participation, I'm afraid the concessions are mandatory. Yes, that's fine. Get back to me when you can. Goodbye. No one ever just signs the contract. Anyway, thanks for coming by on such short notice. I just needed to cover a couple of quick things with you before you race. Firstly, as requested, there's a copy of your contract. It's a rolling deal. However, the team reserves right of termination if you fail to meet performance standards. You're second driver for now, but work hard, hit your targets, and I'll be able to sweeten the deal. I'm also looking to get you into some invitational events throughout the season. The experience and exposure from these will be great for your image. Plus, you'll get to drive some nice historic cars. Now then, go get ready for the next session. And good luck.
So there we are. We are Haas F1 Team's new driver. First of all, we are put into second position, yeah, after teammate Kevin Magnussen, but surely we can hope that we will be #1 driver in the future. And as we can see now here in the paddock, it's nicely done with a little bit of action going on in the background. We have our mobile phone on the left hand side, we have some fruits on the right hand side, alongside with some water, and we gonna have our laptop, which is the most important thing of the entire game, because it's where we check everything. We get a short introduction, I'm not gonna tell too much about it. It's basically the point, or the location where we do check everything. We have an overview about our current rivalry, about our current reputation level. Also, we have the vehicle management, as you can see here, because we have to deal with our components over the entire season, because we just have 4 components of everything of our power unit, so we have to deal with it over the entire season. And you can also see some training sessions, some training videos which we can use over here. But yeah, this is basically a lot of stuff I'm gonna explain in next couple of videos about F1 in general, but in this very video we are gonna talk about this specific first weekend in Australia, and I was facing a lot of problems in the first go, and I'm gonna talk you through those while we see some footage of the first practice session. So yeah, here we are in the first practice session, and yeah, I'm just gonna make the sound of this video a little bit lower so you can clearly hear my voice, and then I'm gonna leave you alone with some minutes of action of this video. But you know, first of all, to explain how this entire series will run, it's a little bit different from what you know, as I already said. So the first thing is that I haven't raced in a game like that without any assists for kind of like 5 years or something. I still have the problem that I'm kind of new to shifting, I have to say, even though I was shifting manually years ago already, but that kind of changed a lot. And yeah, basically one thing you can see already now in the background, I had to use a lot of those flashbacks to get going in general. I also had the aim to not use it in qualifying and in the race later on. It kind of failed, I have to say, but I'm gonna explain why. But definitely this will be a just one-of-a-kind thing in this video, because in the next race in Malaysia, I guess, no, it's not Malaysia, it should be Bahrain, I guess, the second race, I'm gonna definitely try to avoid using the flashbacks in general, maybe in the trainings, but just to, you know, get going in general. But all over the place I will try to avoid them, because I think it's really, you know, that's not the idea of a racing game. And also, if we're gonna crash out in a race, we're gonna crash out, and I'm not gonna use the flashback option because that's a little bit boring. But yeah, you've seen in the beginning, maybe I set the AI driver to 80%, which is the first level of expert. I hope that we will improve over the season, so that we maybe even reach 90 to 95%, maybe. I think that's really optimistic, but hopefully we can do so. Maybe if you see me racing in the background, yeah, you might think that this is not possible. But I have to say, it was really the very early on footage, like 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, when I was racing like that. So also my force feedback wasn't working correctly, and I had huge problems also with my steering wheel. I have to say, man, there's a lot of stuff going on in F1 nowadays. So like, it's a few years ago, like it's with DRS we have to use, then the multifunctional display, where I've also the possibility to change the fuel mix from lean to rich to max to standard to whatever, and also like brake balance and all these kind of stuff. I barely even use it because it's really stressful, honestly, to keep my car on the track. So once I get this done a little bit better, I might look into those things. But for the first race, the only thing I did is kind of change my fuel load, or the not the fuel load, but the fuel mix, or the fuel, how's it called? I don't even know right now, but I think it's a fuel mix, so that we can at least survive the race. And basically also to get into this already, as you can see over here, the very first challenge in F1 2017 for me is to survive the race. So that's basically the very first challenge I faced. But yeah, not talking too much about this, I leave you alone with the rest of this footage, just to enjoy a little bit of the game, and me failing a lot and using flashbacks a lot. But yeah, then we will jump into some training sessions, where I did some of those little trainings to gain points, and then again we meet each other in the qualifying. See ya then. So here we are in practice session 2, I guess, and we are doing a little bit of a tire wear program. So this is really important to see how good we do behave with the tires. Nowadays it's really important to take care of the tires as good as possible, because in the end it counts a lot to just take care of your tires, to be quick over all of the laps you do have the tires on, and it's not really clever to push too hard in the first couple of laps to destroy your tires, as I am doing with the first corner over here, honestly. But yeah, so this is really important, so your engineer does know how to set up your strategy. So if you're really good with your tires and you have a good balance in the car, so that you're not going to be using the tires too hard, you can enlarge your stints and maybe get away with one less stop in the race, which makes you effectively a lot of seconds faster in the end. But that also means that your average pace might be a little bit lower than the other ones, but you know, it doesn't really matter, because if you are not as slow as the pit stop you are saving in the end, that makes it then better for the end result. If you're a little bit too hard with the tires but your pace is really nice, then you could go for one more stop, but that's also upon your own style. I have no idea what will be my preferred style over the course of the season, but I'm pretty sure that it will be somewhere in between. I'm not the best in tire wear, I guess, but in behaving with the tires. But as you can see from this lap, according to the game, my tire wear seems to be pretty decent. I have no idea how hard this test is, or if it is getting harder towards the end. But you can see here in the last corner we have a little bit of a slide, which makes the result a little bit worse than it actually was. But yeah, this lap already fulfills the program. My tire wear is low, it's really below the average, and you can see I'm abroading this lap here because I'm just skipping back to the garage to see how good the performance was in general. And as you can see from the results over here, it was a pretty decent lap time. It was a better lap time than my engineer expected me to do. It was so good that the average actual lifespan is a little bit higher than what it would be from the expected tire lifespan. So overall I'm pretty happy with the results. But yeah, in the race later on you will see that this is not 100% of the truth, but you will see then. Anyways, I'll see you then in the qualifying. Until then, guys.
Where qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix should be getting underway shortly. So then, Ant, it's another Grand Prix weekend, another exciting qualifying session ahead of us. What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
The first question is going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice, particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
So welcome now in qualifying session number 1, and I'm gonna quickly explain to those of you who don't know actually Formula 1 so much, or maybe you just came in a little bit to this after a few years of missing it or whatever. So in modern F1 we've got a qualifying that is divided into 3 parts, and each of these three parts will have 7 cars falling out of the pit. I guess it's 7, or is it 6 at the moment? I'm not sure. Wait a second. It should be 6, I guess. So the slowest 6 will then fall out of the session and be in the grid already. And yeah, so the target of the first 2 qualifying sessions is only to get into the best 16 and the best 10, and the best 10 in the end. So that's all about it. And there was one single thing which is really important about it, because you wanna use the tires in qualifying 2 the best way you can, because those are the tires you're gonna be starting at. And I'm telling you this right now because that will be a huge thing to talk about, because this is where I had a little bit of a problem. because I overused my tires, and that will be a big thing in the race later on. But yeah, just to explain. So as you can see over here, my first goal was to go with the red super soft tires, and I thought I should have the pace to be quick enough to save one of those ultra soft tires for the second qualifying, and essentially then another one for the last qualifying, although we get an extra set of ultra softs just for the last qualifying session if I'm gonna make it into it. So I just wanted to make this first run on the super soft compound over here, trying to warm up the tire the best way I can, and as I said, I quickly came into just using the car a little bit better, but I also made some mistakes all over the place just by, you know, going a little bit wide over here, as you can see in this turn, and in the end, I guess just before the final chicane, I just came into the grass in this one right now. I'm not too sure if I was doing this. No, it's actually fine. But yeah, I just tried to warm up the tires the best way I can, so to see if I can get the best lap time out of it. And in this very lap, I guess there is a little bit of a cut, because I had a problem with Mr. Kvyat over here, and he will be one of the biggest problems on our weekend. And as you can see over here, I crashed due to him, because I haven't had the experience what's happening with the dirty air. And as I said at the beginning, I wanted to go into the qualifying without using the flashbacks, but unfortunately I needed to use this already over here. I will promise that in the next race I try to do everything without it's you know, the noob flashback, but overall locking up really hard here into turn 3. The biggest thing about this was for my first race to get to know everything about this game. It's way harder than the last games I played, which is a good thing, because the last games I played were all a little bit too easy for my taste. And also the last game that really challenged me was Air Factor in I think it's over 10 years ago. So that's also why it was a really different game. It was a really different way of driving back then. And honestly, I have to say, I have had a lot of respect already towards F1 drivers. But here you can see, by the way, there I just screwed up the entire lap, and that brought me into the position that I have to retire to the garage and then try to get another run. And I decided to go then for the ultra soft compound. As you can see here already, we are going to try if we can make it into the second qualifying. But what I wanted to say is that I had already a huge respect to those good drivers all around YouTube and stuff, but now doing it on my own again, I have to say, damn, there's so much going on what you have to think about, like the tire wear, the usage of the MFD, the multifunctional display, as you can see on the right hand side, or as you might have seen on the right hand side, where you can change the fuel mix, where you can change the brake pressure because of different types of corners you have all around the track, and also the DRS you have to pay attention to, and also all the other kind of stuff. There's so much going on within the lap and not just about driving, right? So I slowly get into the mode that shifting is not that big of an issue for me any longer. I still had some issues in the race with it when I lost the rhythm, but I guess in the next couple of races that should be gone, and shifting is kind of natural for me, because it already was one time. By the way, cutting the corner over here, fortunately I got no penalty for it. I don't know why exactly, but I really needed to make this lap work to get into the next qualifying section. But yeah, a huge respect to all of those, and I will see how I can manage to go there in the near future. But yeah, just to mention again, this will be a progress over the time. We are trying to get better and better over the entire season, and then let's see in the end on which difficulty we can raise and how good I do perform with all the kind of stuff. But yeah, we made it into qualifying section 2. As you can see, 7th place is already not that bad, but yeah, just as a reminder, it's not about the position in those first 2 qualifyings, it's just about getting into the next round, and so don't pay too much attention to the final position. But yeah, then we are moving on to qualifying number 2, and as you can see over here, we are in P15 still, and I just had a little bit of a problem over here, and I just destroyed this lap, and still I lost so much. As you can see on the right hand side, my delta is going down hugely. Also had a really bad entry into the last two corners. I was way too careful on the acceleration over here, and so in the end you can see I just made it to just a little bit less than 1 second faster than my previous lap on the super soft tires, which was way not enough to get into the next round. And so I needed to cool down for 1 lap, and here we are then in the final chance we get, because as you can see on the right top side of the screen right now, the Q2 time is about to be ending in 1 minute and 30, so that will be my final go. Maybe I could even do 1 more lap then afterwards, but I felt that I had to take this final lap over here to make it work, because otherwise I would have fallen out of Q2, but I really had the pace, so I tried to make this lap stick. And honestly, I have to say, I used a flashback within this lap, but just to make it a little bit more fluid, I cut it out. I guess you might have spotted it already, because the sound was a little bit off there. But yeah, on the other hand side, this lap was kinda okay in the end. So yeah, just enjoy the rest of this lap and just watch the delta on the right hand side. You can see how much I improved to the end of this lap, which was really nicely.
30 seconds left in the session.
So yeah, at the end of qualifying 2, you can see I was in 8th place, right ahead of my teammate Kevin Magnussen, who was just about a couple of thousandths slower than me. So that was a really good performance. The lap was not too good in the end, but it was enough to get into Q1. And yeah, so in Q1, as you can see, we faced a problem. We have got an electrical system fault, and yeah, that made us lose the half of the session. And so as you can see on the right top side now, we are already 5 minutes into it, so we just have this one single run, and I just leave you alone with this one lap, because it was maybe the best lap I had on F1 2017 so far, though it was far away from being perfect, but just enjoyed this lap, and it was also without any flashbacks, promise. Bam, there we nailed a 1:26.5, which was nearly 1 second quicker than any of our other laps on this weekend. And so we made it into position 8, which I think is brilliant. I mean, just facing the fact that we are on expert level, I mean, it's just 80%, which is fine, but we had so much struggle to be even faster than the Saubers on the practice sessions, and then in the race we are having a start on place 8, and off we go with the Australian Grand Prix and having a really bad start into this first race of our entire season. And you can see Magnussen's jumping us on the left hand side. On the right hand side, Sainz is coming in. I'm trying to avoid any crash, but as you can see, Sainz is going in the left hand side of Magnussen. Then we are on the tail of Magnussen, trying to get back our position because he stole our 8th place, and then having a really strong dive move into turn 3, but we made it stick, so we could make the move done and to this next corner. But then we lost nearly the back of the car going into the next turn. But can we hold it up to the track? We can, and so back we are, and let's move on and watch the replay of the start. So that was my really first start in F1, and I had a really bad getaway. I just, hold on to the clutch way too long and then misshifted already, and yeah, but we had a little bit of luck that Mr. Sainz was kicked away by Magnussen. I think he just didn't have enough balls. But then we had enough balls to get this move done into turn 3. And as you can see from my cockpit view, I thought it was a really dangerous move, but seeing it in the replay, it was kind of okay, I guess. Yeah, then moving on in lap 1, I was just, as I said, my first target of this entire race was to survive. And the only thing I wanted to do now is to get to the tail of this pack ahead of us somehow and try to go with them, just to make sure that we can stay onto the track. I always have the feeling that when I'm racing somebody on the back of him, it is easier for me to keep on track. I don't know why, but it felt like it's easier for me, so I tried my best to get the pace up. And as you can see, they're already battling a lot in the front of us. This Massa against Verstappen, I guess, who won, by the way, today in the Malaysian Grand Prix, which was a nice race, I guess, a strong recovery from Mr. Vettel. But back to our race, you can see at the end of lap 1, I'm right at the tail of Massa, trying to make a move done to corner 1. I don't know if we get the exit of the last corner nicely done enough, but I think since my overall setup is more to downforce rather than top speed, I won't have a go on Massa in this first laps, because it's just, yeah, a really hard task. As you can see, driving really close to an opponent is really being in dirty air. I completely lose the grip on the front end of the car. As you can see over here, having a huge lockup into turn 1 to avoid a crash. But as you can see, I still think I do have the pace. Again, nearly losing the car at this turn over here, which was maybe my hardest turn of the entire race. But yeah, moving up to lap 6 already, you can see I had to let Massa go a little bit. Verstappen, on the other hand side, is already far ahead of us. A huge slide there out of the really fast chicane. My tires were completely gone. I didn't know at this stage why it was the case, because one lap ahead they felt really good, but then I just reminded myself that I had already like 3 qualifying sets runs on this tire, so that was the reason why these tires were completely gone. So moving on to the pits, because I thought one more lap on these tires would be way too dangerous. Going to the pits, I lost a lot of time because I was having a lot of problems just practicing this little into the pits, because it's all manual. I had to press the pit limiter myself, and I just wanted to avoid a 5 seconds penalty for speeding. So in the box I nearly forgot to hold the clutch down, so we had also a bad getaway out of the box, nearly losing 2 seconds there as well. Having a good stop with 2.9 still, but still I think it could have been way better. And then going out of the box, I had some problems with shifting. So I lost the back end a little bit, so that was also not the best thing we can do for our tires at the back. But then moving on with those super soft tires, we are now facing some huge problems. And as I said, this entire thing, I needed to use some flashbacks. Going into lap 8, I completely lost my rhythm in a way after the pit stop, and as you can see on the back of us, we are in position number 10 at the moment, so we are remaining 1 championship point in this position, so I wanted to really keep on being onto this position, but Perez is making huge pressure at us. He came out of the pits after us and just behind us, and I had, I think, 3 seconds clear of him, but in the meantime he closed the gap to us, and he really put on the pressure of us. And as I said, I completely lost the rhythm, having a huge lockup into the last corners, and so he was managing to come even closer to us in the last couple of laps, so that was a really big problem. But until this point I could hold him back, so that was not a big problem. But yeah, I completely lost the rhythm, and you can clearly tell that he was just coming to us. And then in the next lap we have Kvyat as I don't know what he was doing there on the inside, but just look how close this was. He had some car issues, but rather than going to the side of the track, he moved into the middle of the track, and I could just somehow avoid the crash with him. I have no idea what on earth he was doing. Here in the replay you can see it even better. So that nearly kicked us out of the race. I really had a lot of struggle keeping the car on the track, but as you can see in the background, Perez was somehow held up by him, which gave us again a little bit of a gap again. So chances for us to keep this 10th position were a little bit better right now, even though Kvyat was doing completely out of this world action there. I have no idea what is in his mind. I mean, Mr. Kvyat already was trying to give us a hard time in the qualifying sessions, and now he's back again to destroy our race. But yeah, somehow I managed to keep this one on the track, and as I said, I used some flashbacks, but I didn't do in this situation, so that was just pure reaction, fortunately. Yeah, that was a really shocking moment. And then moving on to lap 11, you can see I'm still holding the position quite nicely, and I get back to my rhythm. But then again, some yellowish lights were flickering, and as you can see on the right hand side, who's that? It's again Kvyat! I mean, what is this madman doing? He was, again, I mean, what is he doing? He was kind of out of the race and still going slow over the track. I, again, completely lost my rhythm of the race, and as you can see, one lap later, Perez closed the whole gap of 3 seconds to us, because I had a really awful lap. I lost over 3 seconds compared to my previous laps, and I was completely out of the rhythm due to Mr. Kvyat again. As you can see, nearly missing every apex of the race, and it was really, I can't really say what this was, but yeah, trying to somehow stick to the track, my car, that was the only thing I had in mind. And as you can see, there was again. I mean, what on earth is Mr. Kvyat doing in this race? What on earth is he doing? So I don't know what this was. He was continuing to do this for until the end of the race. But as you can see on the little arrow in the middle of the screen right now, Perez completely closed into us, and I had a huge lockup into the Prix last corner, and I had also a really bad getaway out of the last corner, so we gave him the chance. He can open DRS and have a go on us, and so I knew the only thing I could do is move to the middle of the track, make my car as wide as possible, and block him into the first corner, which fortunately worked out pretty nicely, as we can see also again in the replay in a second. There we go with the replay, and as you can see now, he was really up to our tail and nearly hitting our gearbox in the back of it. So it was really close, and I was about to lose my position over there, but somehow I managed to fend him off and pushed him wide enough. Not unfair, I think it was still within the regulations, and yeah, then I moved on, and I don't know why, but somehow I found my rhythm back. Also noticing then on lap 13 that I still was in the lean mix. I had some fuel issues within the race, and I had to go back to lean mix, but we were now having one lap clear with the fuel mix, and so I could go up with the fuel mix, and as you can see, the gap is still not big, but since I got back to standard mix, I could, you know, clearly drive a little bit more easy on the throttle and a little bit more easy in general, so I could make the gap a little bit bigger, and it was a little bit unfortunate because if I would have noticed that a little bit earlier, and as you can see on the right hand side, we are gaining positions, so we are up into position number 6, and the problem was I couldn't really find out where this was in the replay, but somehow Vettel was out of the race, Hamilton was out of the race, then I think it was Daniel Ricciardo who was also out of the race. That was the one standing on the right hand side just before the turn over there, so we gained a lot of positions there. Also Ocon was out of the race, so we had a little bit of luck in the last couple of laps because a few of those persons just retired from the race as we go into the last lap of this race, and I just leave you alone with this last lap of the race until we maybe secure the 6th place for our first ever race in F1 2017.
7.1 seconds.
And coming around now the last corners of this race, I'm back with you, and as you can see, Kimi Räikkönen won this first race, and we are pretty easily clearing the last corners of this course and then going to the right hand side, cheering to our box crew, which is not there unfortunately. But yeah, really happy about this result. 6th place in the first race ever in F1 2017, and that's it. Räikkönen won ahead of Bottas and Verstappen in 3rd place. I think it was a really successful first race. Of course I used maybe a little bit too often the flashback, but I hope you guys forgive me for the first ever race we did. I still wanted to finish it somehow to deliver a nice video. And please, now this is the time to ask you guys, please tell me, did you like the video? What can we improve in the future? I never did a video like that before, so or maybe the commentary was a little bit different. It was a hard time cutting this, and yeah, so please give me some feedback. And here you can see the final race result. We were in 6th place. Our teammate Kevin Magnussen made it just to 13th place, so this gives us a lot of points to get #1 driver in the team in the future. But that should be it. Bye bye guys, see you next time.
To the top of the table. Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another...